Hi, I'm Amanda from Life Unravelled, and we're here to unravel life's little mysteries. This week we're going to talk about activities and what sort of activities you can do with your children. Travel tips. Now, I love travelling with my children, and we used to do a lot of travelling because my parents were interstate, and so we learned all these little tips and tricks when we were going interstate with the kids. One of the first things is when they're little, sometimes if they've got an ear infection, then you need to make sure that their ear passages are clear before you go onto an aeroplane. So have a chat to your doctor. Your doctor will be able to give you some clear ideas on how you can make sure their ears are clear when you're travelling on an aeroplane. If they are comfortable and they're happy, then they're more likely to behave in a more respectable way. Now, thinking about travelling, where can you go? Well, to the beach is great because it's very active. When they're 4, they need active things to do, but then they need time to rest as well. So hiking is good as long as you're staying in the one spot. One of the things that I found was much better with my children is that when we went holidaying, we went to one place, we stayed in one hotel, and then we went from there and did what we needed to do. It was a lot slower. I didn't get as much done as what I did when I travelled on my own, but what it did do, it was a happy and it was a really enjoyable holiday for everyone. Going and seeing family is excellent because then you've got built-in babysitters, or having family come with you is even better because again you've got built-in babysitters, and the kids love it having that extended family with you. Work conferences can work sometimes as long as one partner is with the kids all the time and the other partner is able to, the one who has the conference is able to go to those. But I did find that the conferences did work really well with us. Small children love familiar places, so going to family is great, or going to the one place for a holiday. I know of some friends who had a holiday home and they always went to the holiday home. They've got such fond memories of that place. And little children will behave much better as long as they are in a familiar place. Make sure that they have time to play, so it's not all sightseeing or it's not all, going to the beach, but they need other times to play. They need to go to the playground. They still need their routine. And it's important that they still have their basic routine. And then they're just doing their routine in a brand new environment. I had some rules as I was taking my children on holidays. Always stay within one large step of me. So that meant that when I was paying for our room or paying for our meal or whatever, I always knew that the children were one step away from me. And we used to do this rule when we were not just on our holiday, but we would start to introduce that rule about 2 weeks before we went on holidays. So anytime we went to the shops, I'd say, right, travel rules. And they knew that when I said travel rules, they could only be one step away from me. And this really was a safety issue. And I trained the kids right from when they were little, every time we said travel rules, that they were the rules. We also what we found was we used to explore new places and eat new foods. Now, it's important to help the children, even though they may not like it, but it's important to give them the opportunity to try new foods. Now, obviously, if they've never had chili, don't get them to try chili. That would be silly. But there are noodles, for instance, that they may want to try if they're overseas, or if you've gone to a new place, you may be able to find some different types of fruit. Actually exploring and finding these new things to eat and these new places to be is the enjoyable part, and they need to understand that that's what the fun is. So always have snacks with you that you know that they can eat, so they're not going to go hungry. But try them out on these new foods too, and you might find that they really start exploring their food options, which can be a little bit difficult with 4-year-olds. Play board games together in the afternoon or in the evening. Don't turn the TV on. Just play a board game and then go to bed or do some reading or whatever. And the best thing that I have found with my kids is I have made travel books for all of the big holidays that we've been on. Even some of the little holidays I've made travel books for. And these books are really lovely to have because they're photos of all the memories of the trip that we had together. Now sometimes I take photos of like something that we ate, or another time I took a photo of the bed that we slept in. So we'd take photos of the scenery that was around, but sometimes it would just be like an animal that we saw. So I made all different types of photos, big photos, little photos, individual little things that you probably wouldn't think of to take, but they were great memories to stimulate our memory so that we could remember the time that we had at that place. Even if it was an awful time, it's really fun to still have those memories in there because you get to laugh about it. And remember, relationships are built on common experiences. So the more that you go back on those common experiences, the stronger your relationship becomes. One of the things that you can do with these travel books is actually give the kids a camera. Now, most people have a spare phone that has a camera on it that they could use. Give the kids the camera, the phone, and they can take a whole heap of photos from their perspective, and it's really different. It's incredible to see what sort of photos they come up with. Sometimes I think they're much better than mine, but it gives them a perspective and they then contribute to the book, and they're more likely then to read the book. Now I've used a couple of different places, and you can always look online to see where you can get photo books from. And I'm not going to go through and say which ones are my favourites or not. There are so many of them. Just have a look which one suits you best. I suggest just do a little tiny one to start with to see what the quality is. And then once you've done a small soft cover book, which generally costs about $10 to $15, then you can go for a really big book. And take the time at the end of every day before you go to bed to write down the things that have happened. And by you writing and keeping a journal, what you'll find is that that's showing the children that writing is actually an important skill. And get them to start writing a little journal, and then you can take photos and print them in the end and put them at the bottom of the page. And then the kids will have this photo journal of their own that they can keep. And they love, about 5 or 6 years' time, they love looking back at those photo books. Now remember when I said about the one rule, the rule that I have that they're one step away, is that we practice that rule in our own city. Now I can't emphasize enough how important it is to practice those rules before you go away. There is going to be so many distractions with the kids of a new place to be. It'll be different surrounding, it'll smell different, it'll feel different, it might be more humid than you're used to, it might be less humid, the temperature will be different. There's so many senses that these kids are going to be bombarded with when they go to a new place. The last thing they want is to be given these new rules that they have to follow through and think of. So if you prepare them and make sure you do those travel rules within the city that you live, then it's second nature to them. They don't have to think about it. And everyone has a much, much better time. Interstate car trips. We used to go on lots of road trips. And my suggestion, leave at 3 a.m. Pick the kids up, put them in the car, start driving. At 3 a.m. it's dark. Make sure that you've slept. But by the time they wake up at 8 o'clock, you've had 5 hours. When you're going on a plane, whether it's interstate, international, or just within your state, some of the tricks and tips that I've found is take a book. iPads you can't always use. They're not reliable enough. Make sure that you take your snacks on the plane. because you're never sure if you're going to be able to take theirs. And make sure you take some water. Keep very calm. Take lots of toilet breaks when it's convenient. And make sure that you are going to spend the time with the kids, not just you doing your own thing and leaving them to do their own thing. Make sure that you take the time to do things together, whether it's playing a game or reading a story together. Use it as special you and them time. When you get to a hotel or even if you're going to visit family, I've always found that if I unpack and put my clothes into the drawers, I feel much more settled. And children will find that too. They can then go to the drawer and find exactly what they need for the day, so they can be more independent and they can get themselves ready. So if you set up their room so that they've got their clothes in the drawer and it's more like their own room and their own house, then they'll be a lot more settled and you'll have less problems with discipline. The other thing is, take everything out of the fridge that costs. Otherwise you're going to end up with a bill, because the kids aren't used to having to pay for what's in the fridge. If you're going to go overseas, make sure that you have enough time for the kids to rest. It's going to be really tricky for them. They're going to see so many different things. But what you want to make sure is that they have an enjoyable time, so you have an enjoyable time. So give them the opportunity to do this by having play breaks, by having eating breaks, and by making sure that they have a good sleeping habit. It may mean that you miss out on some nighttime activities, but at the end of the day, it's so much easier. Make sure that you don't rush. The more you're trying to rush to get something done, the more likely they're going to get frustrated and they're going to have a big tantrum. So if you can give them the time, but be very, very secure and consistent in your message of what needs to be done next, you'll find that it makes life so much easier for you. Take time to smell the roses, experience the sights. You need to enjoy your holiday as well. They need to enjoy it and you need a break. And the best way to make a break for you is to have them well behaved. And the easiest way to make them well behaved is to give them time, to make sure they understand what needs to be done, and positively reinforce those good behaviours. I hope this has given you some ideas on activities that you can do with the kids. Then they're 4 now, so they're getting older, and raise those expectations up. You should expect them to behave in a sensible way. They can get themselves dressed. They can do a lot of things now, and they can do chores. So it's important that you give them the opportunity to do those. The more they do it, the better they'll get at it, the quicker they'll get at it, and the easier your life will get. Thanks for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye. This video was produced by Imagination Pty Ltd for Life Unravelled. All advice and information given during this course is designed for general use only. If you have any concerns for your child, please seek professional advice as soon as possible. For terms and conditions, please see website www.lifeunravelled.com.au.